Welcome to another episode of our Founders Podcast. I'm your host, Ash, and this is a show where I interview proven founders and industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you build, launch, and grow your business. In this episode, I talk to Juan, the founder of Inner Acceleration. Juan shares his remarkable journey from career driven professional to a catalyst for personal growth and transformation. After experiencing burnout and a quarter life crisis, Juan discovered his calling to serve humanity through inner acceleration, a crucial concept for entrepreneurs and leaders facing burnout and high startup failure rates. Juan's method, rooted in his best selling book and a TEDx Talk, rapidly enhances emotional, physical, social, and spiritual intelligence, empowering individuals and teams to thrive. Through keynotes, coaching, and workshops, Juan's mission is to catalyze profound change and guide others on their path to self discovery and evolution. So I hope you enjoyed Juan, the show.
Thank you, Ash. Thank you, my friend. Wow, I think I need to copy and paste your introduction of myself.
That's good. That was really impressive. I was looking into your TED Talk online, and I was like, "Oh my God, I need to speak with Juan personally." So thank you very much for accepting the invite.
My
So,
pleasure to be here.
so Juan, before we start, so do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you that you would like to share with our listeners?
For sure, especially looking at the listeners of this podcast. If you look at the how old they are, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, starting from 20 to 50, 60, because you can be a
Oh,
founder early in the
absolutely.
age,
Got it.
and then you can keep
Got it.
growing the journey. Yeah.
So the ones in the later side of the spectrum, the older ones might know this already, but most young people, 20, 30s, they don't know this. And this is really what they need to learn for true deep evolution as a leader, as a founder, as a person. And it's a quote from Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychoanalysts, figures in the world of psychology. And he said that until you make the unconscious conscious, until you bring it to the surface, it will rule your life and you will call it fate.
Mm,
And
yeah, it's very deep actually.
it's very deep. Most people, most of us walk in the world as if we are aware of who we are, our pitfalls, qualities, tendencies, uh, but we don't.
Mm,
Most of the stuff we're not aware of. So we have no idea all the breaks we have, all the chains that keep us, repeating the past. And um, but the moment that you start doing the work, usually at your 30s, you start doing the deep work of saying, wait a second, what serves me, what doesn't serve me, what are these tendencies, where does it come from, and you bring it to the surface and you transform them,
mm,
is where true freedom, powers, well-being, and fulfillment begins as a new chapter of your life. So I
indeed.
wish that to everyone.
This quote itself gave me
Mm.
so much to think about now.
We can stop. You can go for a couple of days, have a depression, then come back, and then we can start again.
Great, great. Yeah. So tell us about inner acceleration. What does this when did you got this idea? What was, who's it for, and what's the main problem you're
Mm.
helping to solve?
Definitely. It depends on who are we talking to. So the value proposition is a little different from for established enterprises. Small, medium, and big enterprises have different needs than founders and startups and scale ups. The whole idea behind, no matter what company we're talking about here, is that the world out there is accelerating at an incredible pace, right? We have AI, we have globalization already started a long time ago, but we have so many things that are accelerating everything at an exponential pace. The problem is that our bodies don't evolve as fast. Actually, is the same kind of body from millions and millions of years. We cannot change that. We have accepted that. However, because people are not conscious and aware of the psychology part, that is quite more flexible, quite more plastic. You can change it and reprogram yourself, but they think they can't. They are who they are. I learn gradually, not exponentially, but gradually, little by little, one book here, one thought here, uh, we the mind could accelerate, the inner development could accelerate much faster to catch up with the complexities, the ambiguity, of the world that we're living in, of the businesses that we're trying to build, of what society and the ecosystem needs from us as leaders and entrepreneurs as well. So to accelerate inner development, to catch up with external demands while staying authentic, true to ourselves, well, and with high impact, is a true challenge. And in the last 12 years of my life, 12 to 14 years of my life, once I chosen to start a path of helping people, empowering people, I've done more than 12, 14 certifications around the world on things like mindset, coaching, organizational development, you name it. And I realized that to accelerate that inner development for well-being, for impact, for performance, a whole revolution of how we see the mind needs to happen. And that's what I wrote in my book, The Mind Canvas, which I happen to have here
Awesome.
by chance. The Mind Canvas. And it's really that. This is a visual model or a metaphor about that simplifies your mind. It makes it simple and intuitive, so that anyone can actually, change it, reprogram yourself. Look at those limiting patterns, beliefs, values that are stopping you from your potential, and reprogram those in a simple way, visual, intuitive way. And that way you accelerate in your development, because every day, every moment becomes an opportunity to reprogram in an intuitive, visual, fun way the things that don't serve you and your stakeholders.
Indeed, indeed. And you mentioned that you've learned it from all of your experience which you have gathered, and all the professional certifications and studies you have done. And I am eager to learn more about the person behind this innovative approach. But before we move to that, let's talk about where the story began. Where did the idea for the inner acceleration came from originally, and how did you pursue this idea to get into like a entity?
Got it. So you're taking me back to 2008. That was the world financial crisis, and that it was a Pandora's box that opened so many things in my life that took me to where I am today. But a very long story short, I had a health crisis, a huge health crisis. I was going to the clinic every week until one doctor said, "Look, man, these are all different symptoms of one thing: stress. There's something that needs to shift here. Your mind, if you are to survive and to live past 35 years old. So we not die of a stroke, and then another doctor said, you need to do yoga for the rest of your life. Yoga, a doctor, right? You put it actually on a prescription pad like this.
Oh my God!
Yoga,
Okay. Okay.
Yoga for life. It took me one yoga class to realize there was something there, my friend. And the state of mind that I achieved in that class, the connection with myself and the world around me was so powerful that I said, "There's something here. I need to go deeper on this." So I went down the rabbit hole, and suddenly I realized that through meditation and a lot of tantric practices, it came to me what I had to do with my life, and that is work with people, for people, through people, to lift people's consciousness. To stop unnecessary suffering, to make the world a better place through more conscious and evolved human beings. So that's how it all started. And trying to follow the breadcrumbs of this messaging, of this calling, I came up with coaching, life coaching first. I take my first certification in 2011 or 12. And from that moment on, every year, at least one or two certifications to keep going, as I saw that the impact on people was great, but there's many things I couldn't handle. Of course, I was not a trained psychologist or something, so there's only so much I could do with a certification in life coaching. I said, how can I deal with almost anything anyone can bring to a session? That was the challenge. And how can I do it in a way that is super fast? Because I became also a yoga teacher. That's the impact it had on me. I also studied. I became a yoga teacher. I was giving free yoga classes in a park in Chile where I lived back then. But I saw that people would have physical and very gradual, effects or benefits. Also, myself, after years of doing a lot of yoga, I really got all the you know all these effects. But I said, how can I tap into the source of the problem, which is the mind,
Mm.
right? The mind is where everything starts. Your source of happiness, your source of suffering, is the mind. The 20
Yeah.
centimeters between your ears. So I chose to become an expert in the mind and
Mm.
to study and to be able to help people change their minds as fast as possible. And I became actually quite good at it, according to to the people I help. That's
Yeah.
why I wrote the book. I developed my models to make this available for everyone,
Yeah.
and that has been a path of providence because it led to things, to awards, to TED talks. Yeah, it's
Mm.
been a role.
But very interesting because most of the founders or industry experts we talk on the show, they solve the real life problem because they got into one of this themselves. For example, yourself, back in 2008, what you explained just now, and that makes them the expert solving that particular specific problem,
Yeah.
and that's really good because then makes you the expert. And
Hmm.
I want to learn more about the book and the models you came up with. But before entering into that, I'm eager to learn more about the person behind this. Can you take us back to your roots and share with our listeners about your upbringing, your childhood? How did your early experiences shaped your journey
Ooh.
and eventually led you to become somebody who is expert about
Yes.
helping, you know, companies, organization, entrepreneurs?
Yes. You're good at this, my friend. Good question. Good question. Um, so, funny enough, this takes me back to the quote that I gave at the beginning from Carl Jung. Until
Mhm.
you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. I am 40 years old today. Only 3 years ago, it took me 37 years of my life to become aware that I was arrogant as fuck. Excuse my
Mm.
French. Uh, Only 1 year ago, I learned that the arrogance came from very low self esteem, deep and rooted low self esteem, which I had no clue because everyone would say, "You're so confident. Come on, everything you do, how you do it, how you speak." Yeah, but deep inside, there's a low self esteem, very deep rooted. Which I talk about in my TED talk, right? About the three beliefs of the mind, the deepest ones. And the reason why I had this low self-esteem that manifested in arrogance to compensate, it was because of tendencies of narcissism. Because I grew up in a narcissistic family, which I had no clue about, and my brothers didn't either, until my father died last year.
Oh my God. Okay.
He was a big time narcissist. It was incredible. You can make a Hollywood movie about him.
Mm.
And so we grew up in this narcissistic environment. My mother probably being also passive narcissistic because living with such a guy for so long time. And this shaped us, me, my brothers, and what I thought and we thought was like we're driven people, successful, doing very well on our jobs and careers. It was basically us trying to compensate for how little we valued ourselves.
Mm.
And it was a parade of the ego. Everything was a parade of the ego. Who earns more? Who has more? Who looks better on Facebook or whatever? Uh, so that's to say, look, that's in a nutshell my story that I'm actually still finding out as we speak. I interview my mother once a week now, asking her questions to find out more, to explain these pitfalls of my personality and all, but also the great sides of it. So um, being in this family made me be a perfectionist, which is a symptom of, together with arrogance, symptoms of low self esteem. That led me to grow very, very fast in my professional career. to earn a lot of money very soon, very early. But because of that, also, I came really quickly with the conclusion that there's no amount of money that was going to fill the void that I felt.
Mm.
I always would put a number. When I have that number, it's going to be enough. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to feel proud about myself. But every time I would get there, I wouldn't.
Mm.
So it felt like chasing rainbows,
Yeah,
they keep
yeah.
moving away. And the second or third time that happened before my 33, my 30s even, I realized, look, I can continue to lie to myself and continue this path of self-destruction, working in jobs I don't like, doing things I don't want for other companies that I don't believe in, or I can become authentic and follow my own path. Around that time, I already had the calling, so I chose to fully embrace it, and that's where I started professionally as a coach. So again, it's all because, by the way, all the health issues that led me to the doctor, that led me to do yoga, that led me to the calling, and that led me to where I am today, it's all because low self-esteem, because of a narcissistic father. So
Mm.
again, we don't ask these questions. We don't review the past and say, why am I the way I am? And how is the way I am not amazing as I think it is? Or how is it not as bad as I think it is? Some people put themselves down. People like me put themselves way up.
Mm.
The perfect example of that is Donald Trump, right? I
Yeah.
am the best, no matter, I am the best. There has never been anyone like me. Everything is perfect. Every other president in the United States history has been the worst president ever. I am the best.
It's so
Because of
funny.
that, there's everything about being the best, having the most, achieving, looking great. And yeah, that took me to a certain place, yes, but life is so much more than that. And there's people that falling into certain other pitfalls. They are shy, they're introverts, they are afraid of social interaction. There might be people who narcissists. It's all because of our upbringing. So becoming aware of those things and becoming free from those is where you unleash those chains of the past, become
Mm.
free to be not the best version of yourself, which is showing that you don't like yourself today, low self-esteem, to become the real you.
Mm.
And from that authentic self, with no need to pretend or show anything or prove anything to anyone, from there, choose the futures as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a founder. Choose the future you want for yourself, your family, society, and the clients you want to serve. And that's when the real game begins, and we start making true impact in our lives and in the world.
Right. So you learned about it when you started digging into your childhood and understood how the family was influencing you and other thing. We do. I haven't met many people who actually do that. They don't
They
go
don't.
back that deep. And then it's quite clear when you're in some sort of environment with them where you had some kind of interaction or conversation or collaboration. You can see that clearly, but being a friend or a colleague, you don't want to say upfront or be blunt, because then you're like, why should I jeopardize my relationship with this person, right? So it's very important for an individual to understand it from inside out, right?
Of course, my friend. Look at this. I don't want to jeopardize the relationship with this person. Do you consider that a friendship or a true partnership? One where you don't feel safe or confident
Hmm.
to give a specific part of truth to someone as a gift, because either your own fear that they're going to react wrong, usually
Mm.
it's not true if you do it well, uh, but also the fear of the other one to receive feedback and be confronted with things they don't want to be confronted. You see how many fear driven behaviors are there that are stopping everyone from becoming aware, free, empowered,
Mm.
right? That's They say 70% of people don't quit their jobs or quit their managers. It's because managers, people in leaders, they're not aware of their own pitfalls, and they're destroying relationships, destroying trust. That's the biggest pitfall of founders when they become leaders, right? They get funding, they start growing, scaling up. They have teams now. They're not an expert. They're not a developer anymore. Not a good salesperson with a good idea.
Mm.
You have to understand people, understand others, but you cannot manage and understand others if you don't understand and manage yourself. That's why everything starts with inner development, inner acceleration so that you quickly can also be a good leader and all that. Now, I took a detour, but going back to your question, most people don't do that. The world needs, and every company needs, everyone to be given the gifts of awareness
Mm.
to the people we trust and to learn how to do it well. Part of my model, the Mind Canvas, helps also not only master yourself, but also prepare and conduct these conversations that might be tough in a way that is, connecting, empathetic, loving, and actually effective on
Mm.
motivating others, on influencing others. So, yes, they don't look at it, but if I have this pitfall, right, and you don't tell me, that's what happened to me and what happens with everyone. It took me 37 years of my life to realize I was arrogant because at that time I already created the Mind Canvas. I used what I actually wrote in the book to ask myself, wait a second, people keep telling me I'm arrogant my whole life. What did my mind do? Ignore it. They're wrong, because the mind wants to believe it's not bad,
Mm.
especially if you have low self-esteem.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want to even consider the prospect that you're not good, that you're arrogant or bad person. But then, because of this self-awareness, self-reflection, I asked myself one question: how can I say that I'm not arrogant if I cannot define arrogance?
Mm.
I didn't know what arrogance was. I just knew that it was a negative connotation around it. I went and I Googled it, and when I saw it, I said, fuck. If you open Wikipedia, you would see the definition and you would see my face next to it.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
would be interesting. I'm gonna do that after
You know,
our
so how do we accelerate everyone's development?
mm.
Everyone, by giving more feedback more often and learning how to do it in a way that people don't block or feel confronted, right? By, but also asking for feedback, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, for me, it's a standard. You'll see after a conversation today, I'm going to ask you, what did you like about today, and what do you think I could do better as a guest next time?
So let's take a tour into your book then. So
Yeah,
so most of our listeners are founders, entrepreneurs. They work like 12 hours a day. They don't have weekends. They don't go on holidays. They're working really, really hard. And why they're doing it? Because they used to be the 9 to 5 rats. They used to work the same numbers or maybe a couple of more or less hours for somebody else. They saw that they're doing so much for other people, and if they do the same thing for themselves, it might be better, make them more happier. First of all, because they're doing it for themselves, and then they're doing something which they are passionate about. But while they're doing it, a lot of founders, entrepreneurs, they face this burnout. I mean, I'm also one of them. Sometimes in the middle of the night, you receive an email from your IT department saying, "Oh, there is a data leak," or "Oh, we have some hacker, doing this," or there is particular sort of services down. The founder cannot sleep because the startup, the app, or the the business is their baby. They are so much involved into the business that they could lose the sleep, get out of the bed, get onto their computer, and try to resolve the issue instantly. But that causes them a lot of burnout. I have felt it myself. There were times when I went to groceries, and even though my partner gave me a list of groceries, I used to forget few things. That is how much I was involved into, the so-called business baby. From your book, The Mind Canvas, what would you advise based on the different models you have created for a founder or an entrepreneur to follow in different phases of their entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial life?
what advice you said?
Yeah, so you mentioned that there are
Mhm.
some models you have created, right, around managing yourself, and
Yeah,
you are aware of the challenges we founder
yeah,
face. How do we how do we cope up with these challenges, tackle them from
yeah.
inside out?
Exactly. Actually, I love that you said from inside out, and I'm going to challenge the word tackle.
Hmm.
There's nothing to tackle. There's some things to s- define. There's the three parts of my program when people work with me one-on-one in coaching, and I work a lot with founders. Actually, right now I had a coaching session before us
Hmm.
here with a founder of a, gaming startup in London, so it lives very close to you.
Hmm.
Um, and I take them through three phases that it's not necessarily sequential, but it's depending on where they are on these three things. I call them personal wisdom,
Hmm.
personal mastery, and personal leadership. That is the inner work. And after you do that, you can then focus also on the outer world, right? Influence, communication skills, leadership skills.
Hmm.
Um, Companies are training and people are buying books on the outer side and how, these soft skills like communication, influence, and all that. But there's little done on the inner work. So on the inner side, personal wisdom is actually my TED talk is basically that. I addressed that in a specific way. It is the wisdom of who you really are, is to know who or what you really are. First, I'll give you the highlights of the three things, and you want to go deeper, we can go on any of the ones you want. So if you don't know what or who you are, you'll go somewhere, but it's not where you need to be.
Yeah. No
If you
direction.
don't know who you are, yeah, if you don't know who you are, people will be happy to tell you. Your parents, your mother, your society, Health Magazine with all the 8 apps these guys have on those magazines or whatever, um, and you will be following those things,
Mm.
right? And we are just replicating the programs we chose to take, right? Talking about SaaS and all that. It's all a bunch of programs in our minds. The minds are computers. We have programs. Most of them are written in the language of fear. It's about not having enough, not being loved enough, not being good enough, not being fast enough, not working enough. It's exhausting.
Mm.
And and if you don't know that you're not those things, this is just programs someone put in your mind and they're driving you today. You're being driven, but you're not driving, right? You're going to work all those hours, you're going to burn yourself out because you're never there. And what is there? That takes me to the second part, personal leadership, right?
Mm.
So personal wisdom, you're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, you're not your programs, you're not what you do, you're not your startup, my friend. But if you identify with those things, you'll suffer when your
Mm.
body's not there, when your health is not there, when your wife is not there, when your health is not there, you'll suffer. Okay, to not suffer and be empowered, know that you have those things. You're not those things. Okay, now that I know that I am not my body, my mind, and all that, I go into personal leadership. I'm going to
Mm.
lead the person that, because person, like you saw in my TEDx, means persona, means ego, the mask that I show to people. It's not really who we are. It's not the consciousness behind that builds and shifts and transforms the persona at will, if you want, and if you know how to. So once you know that you're not the persona, you're not the mask of the actor, you're not that personality, then you can lead the persona, personal leadership. I, the consciousness, choose that this person called Juan or Ash will go in this direction towards that north vision, mission, in this time frames, in this way, with this inner culture, with these values and principles.
Mm.
Like any CEO would do with any company, the first thing you do is vision, mission, right? Strategy in general, and culture, principles, and values. If you don't have that in place, how can you hire people that actually are good fit? How can you know if you're on the right path? How can
Mm.
you stay motivated sustainably long term if you don't know where you're going?
Mm.
Not on the development of your next product or service
Mm.
10 years from now, 15 years from now, as a person, as a leader, as a member of society. That's personal leadership. That's where I'm going. So when I get astray, I say, wait a second, I promise myself that I need to be sustainable, that my health has to be right. I learned from my last burnout. And here I am again, working at 11 in the night, right? And I haven't seen my baby all day. Am I being the father I know I want to be? Am I
Mm.
being the leader of this body, of these organizations of trillions of cells? Am I being a good leader to this organization?
Mm.
Have I gone inside and high fived all my cells that are working for me 24/7 for 30 something years? What kind of a leader am I being to myself?
That is so different way of thinking. I've never looked at myself being a head of an organization who is working for me from last 40 years, 24/7.
Sure.
It's a very different perspective. Great. Okay. So we've done personal wisdom, personal, uh, sorry, what was the second one?
Yeah. So personal wisdom, personal leadership, and then personal mastery.
Mastery.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Are there more of these, or is it
These are the highest level three things that I could find to make it simple for everyone. You know
right?
this, you know the 20% that gives you the 80%, or the 1% that gives you the 90% is incredible,
Mm,
really. This is not something I invented. This is in every book since human history. You have this in the Upanishads, you have this in the Vedas, you have this in the Yoga Sutras, you have this in the Bible, you have this in every book of wisdom and philosophy.
mm,
Buddhism, Tantra, Zen, Taoism, you have these wisdoms in one way or shape or form. It is the
mm,
basic. It hasn't changed. I haven't invented anything. I
mm,
just made it in a visual, intuitive, simple way for everyone.
to
And I teach
understand
that to people. So the third one is personal mastery. So now that you know that you're not the persona, you're not that thing you think you are,
that.
that makes you fall into stories, and you're always like an actor, all the time an actor. Again, persona means the mask of an actor.
Mm,
You're not that mask. You're not the actor. You're the director if you choose to be. So personal wisdom, I'm not the actor. I'm the director. As a director, personal leadership, I lead the persona, and this is where we're going and how we're going to get there. Strategy and culture, personal. And the third part is okay, but then life hits, right? You're working, you're tired, data leak, client that says, sorry, we're not paying anymore, investor that says, no, you're not getting the money, right? Uh, or your co-founder that leaves with all the money or something. I don't know. There's so many things that could happen.
yeah.
In those
Yeah.
moments, you may have, like any leader has the strategy on paper, but then you go astray. You forget. You take wrong decisions in the wrong direction, right? Uh, Personal mastery is the ability to master, to control the person that you have chose to design that north towards, right? To go towards. So I
Mm,
know where we're going. I know that I'm not this, and I'm taking this, which is my persona, towards that north. And I make sure that I keep separated from that thing that I think I am to make sure that I stay on track. Because the moment we forget and we get back in the stories of who I am, the ego, the founder, the this and that, that's where things go wrong. And we make wrong decisions.
mm,
We work too hard, right? Your personal leadership could be, do I want to work hard and so much, or do I want to work less but smarter? That is typical definition of personal leadership, a principle, because the value behind that principle is, for example, I value my well-being, sustainable performance, you name it, right? If you don't know those things, you haven't decided, you will not live by those values and principles. Therefore, you'll have the culture that you deserve by not setting that culture. Yeah.
sorry, I think Johan, I missed you because the internet connection was not active.
Mm.
So you mentioned that once you understand uh, the personas is not actually who you are, it's the face, it's the mask which
Yeah.
you're trying to be, for example. Then
For sorry, one clear example about that, super simple, because maybe it's a little bit too high level for some people. Look, am, do I call myself a coach, a consultant? No, that's what I do. If
mm,
tomorrow I cannot perform that job, I'm going to get depressed because
mm,
the thing that I define myself as does no longer exist or is impeded. You know,
mm,
that's why people lose their identity when they lose their jobs. Someone who loses a kid, they're not a parent anymore. They lost a part of them, who they are. So they go into depression, right?
yeah,
Or we go into a burnout because we're trying to protect an idea of what we are. When you get free from stories and you say, look, I'm just a human being like anyone else, trying to get by and do some kind of good impact while trying to provide for my family and have a comfortable life.
yeah, yeah,
All the rest are stories. And the moment you attach those stories, you suffer, you go straight, you work too hard and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we founders, we are always looking for shortcuts and tips and tricks in our life to
Yeah.
deal with challenges. What would be your advice to the burnout founders, um,
Mhm.
sort of from a rituals perspective, like morning ritual or evening ritual
Yeah.
after your burnout days, to maybe not get rid of these challenges, but maybe at least minimize the impact of it on their life? You have like a preferred ritual for morning? Do you like, you suggest to do yoga? What's your take on it, basically?
It's funny that you said morning and evening rituals. Did you read my book? Or did you see that in my website somewhere?
I did heard about it a little bit, so
Okay,
from
cool,
yeah.
cool, cool. Because when it comes to how, again, the first tip is define your leadership.
Mm,
What are your values? What's important for you? Because that's going to help you. That's your compass. If you know your first of all your mission and vision. What am I trying to do with my life? If you don't have that, you have like my client today. He was lost. He was all his life, depressed, doing activities, building companies he doesn't love or believe in, because he was basically replicating the story of his father. Okay,
mm,
always being judged by the father, making decisions to just not feel bad about the father's opinion. All right. So first is, who am I? What am I going towards? Then define, what are my values, because the values and the principles, that's the culture, not the strategy. That's how do I want to live every day towards that north. If you don't have that defined, you will continue to live exactly how you lived, which has taken you to the burnout. If you want different results, stop doing the same thing, said Albert Einstein, right? So if you don't define how we roll here, what is the culture in this life of Juan, Ash? Well, we don't do these things. We do this instead. We ask for feedback. I rest. I don't work after a certain amount of hours per day. I make sure I at least spend so many. You need to define those rituals or principles for yourself. Don't expect to avoid depression, burnout, anxiety, lack of fulfillment if you don't know who you are and where you're going.
mm,
Don't expect it. And it's once you have that written down, like any company would do, no bank would give you a credit if you don't have a strategy and written down.
yeah.
So after you have that created for yourself, that personal leadership, then the rituals that I propose is that you wake up every morning, and you can do this throughout the day, but is one in the morning, call it the morning ritual, the planting morning ritual.
Hmm.
One at the end of the day, which is a harvesting ritual. So you plant and then you harvest.
Mm,
At the beginning of the day, you say, okay, you planted the seed of intention. How do I want to experience today? Now, if you have written your personal leadership, you remember that. I'm going to live by these values, especially today that I know it's a difficult period with that supplier or that client or whatever. I have a meeting with that investor. I'm going to tap into this value and this principle. I'm not going to justify myself. Like I received the feedback so many times that I don't listen. I justify myself all the time. I'm going to just listen, be open, and humble.
mm,
That's my intention. Without intention, you will repeat the programs of your past, the patterns of your personality, and you will receive the same results. All right?
mm,
Set the intention for the day, but you also look forward. How do I want to be? How do I want to feel? How do I want to think and move and act? When you see yourself, then you're programming yourself towards it. It's literally neuroplasticity. Your brain is programming the behaviors, it's programming the reactions, the emotions. So the chances of you, what some people call manifesting or attracting that, I don't call it manifesting. I call it deciding it and aligning towards that vision.
mm,
It happens at a neurological level. So once you have that, this is how I want to live the day. Then you go also to what could go really wrong today. What are moments of truth that I need to be extra aware? Right? Yeah, the conversation with that person. My wife told me for the third time to take out the trash and I didn't. Still
mm,
there. In
mm,
that moment, you say, "Oh, so how can I avoid that? How can I circumvent, avoid, mitigate, solve?" And that becomes your plan for the day, your mini mission for today, to avoid those things, to solve those things, to tap into those beautiful, things that I want for myself and for others. And with that intention, you just go and perform. You operate, right? Your plan.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you're gonna do the same thing over and over. Okay. At the end of the day, you do the harvesting ritual. You look back and you said, okay, what am I proud of today? You look at the good things first, because we're negative, right? We tend to be very negative. So if you look back, so what am I proud of today? What worked? What was awesome? What did I do good? How did I live
How
up
the
to my?
meeting with the investor? Did it
Yeah.
go well? Did it not? And
But
can
look at
I?
that. If you ask it that way, you're opening a Pandora's box, and your mind can give you anything. And usually it goes to the negative side because we're negatively connected.
Mm,
If I tell you right now, Ash, look at this. If I tell you, Ash, I think we're doing fantastic in this podcast. It's going great, and I see a big risk.
mm.
What do you tell me?
I would definitely say that we are doing good, but I would definitely again say that, oh, I think I should have dressed well because my
Exactly.
mind is saying, oh, you should have dressed well. Or something like, we lost the internet connection in the middle. So, oh, I should have made sure that the internet connection was.
I should have. I
Yeah.
should have made sure. We should. All this negative pressure on yourself. Talk about burnout. The
Mm,
mind goes into, okay, we're doing well, and usually nobody listens to that part. They go
mm,
to the part, what is the risk? What happens? What's wrong? Right? They go into their past mind, into the negative, awful part of their minds, and
mm,
I do that all the time. No wonder we're not well and we're suffering. So we need to teach ourselves the process of always looking for the positive first, right? If someone today tells me, hey, your website is shit, the first thing I ask them, thanks for wanting to give me feedback on improving it. Let's start with what you liked. Was it
mm,
nothing you liked? Oh, well, actually, now that you say it, because they're negative, we're negative, and we create negativity for everyone.
mm,
So we need to teach ourselves and others to begin with what needs to be celebrated and acknowledged. So what did you like my web? I said, oh, so I don't remember. I need to check it again. Well, please do, because otherwise I'm going to be working on things I might not have to work on. Okay. So yeah, this is great. My past was great, right? So the question you ask yourself about that meeting is not how did it go? No, the question is what went really well in that meeting. First, you harvest the positives because otherwise your brain will not do it for you.
mm,
What am I proud of? What was a success? What worked? What should I replicate in the future? What were nice approaches for me that led
mm,
to something good? What were things I saw about others that was amazing that I should actually incorporate that in my life? That guy presenting that way with that, those slides moving that, wow, that was awesome. I'm not that good with slides. And then only then you allow yourself to say, okay, what could have gone better? Right? What would I like to do differently next time?
mm,
And then you basically write in code in your mind, right? Without touching a line of code, just visually and intuitively. You write in your mind a memory of today that will be your past, right? It becomes your past, but it's well coded, positive, self-empowering, instead of yet another day that I'm with burnout, that I'm not good enough and I'm not working enough. And, because of this process, I can feel proud of myself and I'm quite confident. I'm doing well. And there's a couple of things I could do better. Yeah. Yeah. And then
always
yeah,
improving. Yeah.
those two processes. And the last one is what I call the arise process. I'm not going to go deep on this, but it's just the process of throughout the day. How do I make sure that by the end of the day, I don't need to rewrite a lot of the past because I felt bad. I judged people. I was impatient with people and I pushed people away. Well, by staying aware in the present moment as you do your things, consciousness,
Mm,
and you say, hey, how are my feelings right now? Am I operating from fear, or am I operating from life and empowerment, trust? Um, am I in this conversation with Ash? Am I making him feel bad about himself, or am I uplifting him? In what time is it? Am I aware of the time? Oh shit, it's 11. What am I doing after the computer? My wife is waiting for me.
mm,
You know, and then you align with your personal leadership again. You always become aware and you realign with your personal leadership, so that at the end of the day you look back and said, that was a good day. I'm not tired. I did good stuff because I chose consciously to focus on the things I wanted to focus on, and Yeah, my life was happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this conversation is so deep and so good. I want to go on and go on, but we are limited
Of
of
course,
time.
of
So
course, of course.
so just wanted to reiterate is first thing first, you need to figure out who you are, what direction you're going. You need to figure out your persona, and you need a direction. Once you have these things in place, you need to have sort of like every organization has a strategy, and then once that's done on a daily basis, or whatever time frame you want to operate in, you should have this planting ritual and harvesting ritual, and then in the middle you have this uh, sort of checking and continuation ritual. um, this is going to help a lot of listeners in this podcast, John. I think I have had this conversation in several bars with our friends in the last few months where they say, Ash, we've been working on this product for like 6 weeks now, and we're busting our asses. We don't even eat our lunches. We barely eat anything in the nighttime. Um, we need to do something about it. And then I think after listening to this episode, they will be like, okay, there's something I can, you know, do it from the inside out. So it helps us. Great. So let's go forward with our lightning round then, because we are almost there
Mhm,
at the end of our podcast. So we're gonna go into a lightning round. I've got 6 quick fire questions for you, and you can
mhm.
just answer them as quickly as possible. You ready?
I am.
Great. Number one, what's one of the best piece of advice or business advice you have received yourself, which you would like to, share with others?
Business advice. Um, Pull up your pants. Take responsibility. Don't blame the world. Don't blame the world for your lack of sales or your lack of health.
Hmm.
You chose to be an entrepreneur. Take responsibility. Pull up your pants.
Hmm.
Lead yourself in your business. Don't blame
Lead
anyone.
yourself. That's a good one. What book would you recommend to our audience, and why?
The book that I recommend, I was thinking about this before we started the call, and it's a book that it's fun, easy to read, short, and full of wisdom. It's from this amazing author and speaker, Robin Sharma. Do you know him?
Yes, I've heard about him. Yeah. Is it
Beautiful.
the Ferrari with the monk with the Ferrari?
Yeah, the monk who sold his Ferrari. That's one. Actually, is the most famous one, but I never read it. The one that I read that I love is The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO. It's a
Yeah.
fascinating story that gives you perspectives on how to live a fulfilling life. Because yeah, right now they might be thinking they're the CEOs, all these your audience, but there's wisdom in the saint, the philosophy which we talked about today a lot, right?
Mm.
But also the surfer, just enjoy, you know, eat your meal, have fun, right? Don't delegate that to the future. So the three things of being the surfer, hippie, everything in the present moment, super cool, being the saint, the philosopher, and being the CEO that you're trying to be. If you combine the three, you tap into all the aspects of life. And it's a beautiful, fun book to read. I recommend it.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Definitely gonna add it into my list now. What's
Well,
one
sorry, and my book as well. I recommend my book. They told me it's good.
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend it. I will put the link for the book in the description section for the recording. What's your take on what's one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder or an entrepreneur?
Yes. Because of everything we talked about, the word that comes to my mind is the word conscious.
Hmm.
If you're not conscious, again, you're going to be doing something that is not what you want or should be doing.
Hmm.
Period. If you're conscious, you can all the time question and make better choices, decisions, approaches, plans of action, uh, you name it. That's the one thing. That's why I give all my clients this bracelet with an A of awareness,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
If you're not aware, if you're not conscious, don't blame. You're reaping what you saw.
Hmm. Yeah. You will harvest what you plant.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great.
You know?
What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Uh, Good question. I try to stay away from those. The learning curves on these technologies, they're always good sides, but there's also like this negative sides, and you invest so much time on these tools that um, I think I go always to the and have it incorporated in my own authentic, natural way, which is basically once I have my personal leadership, right? Then I do the plan for the, let's say, for the day. The plan for the day is not a to-do list. It's never a to-do list because otherwise you can put whatever there. We know that we don't look at them, or it keeps building up and building up. But it's a decision list, and it's a priority list. And I know that based on my personal leadership, it's I have so many hours a day that I want to work, that I will work, not want to, I will because I'm the leader. I'm making decisions here, right? And in those hours, I know that these are all the stuff that need to happen. So urgency, importance, matrix, from Stephen Covey. Intuitively, I know what is really the most important thing that would give me the most, propel me the most into the future, into the mission and vision where I'm going. So immediately I make a list of priorities and I tackle them in that order. At the end of the day, if I tackle 20%, they gave me the 80% of the things that I need and that are authentic and aligned with my personal leadership. Man, there's no complaining. There's always fulfillment.
Mm, yeah, understood. And what's an interesting or a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Hmm. Hmm. Oh man, there must be so many. um, and nothing comes. But if I have to say something top of mind real quick, is I am crazy about my daughter.
Hmm.
Crazy about my daughter. She's, my gosh, it's not the apple of my eye. She's the pear of my eye. She's the banana of my eye. She's everything of my eye.
It is your right.
And anytime that I feeling not thriving or a little down or something or doubting or whatever, I just think of her or I just play her laughter on a voice message. Gosh, man. Ah, yeah,
Takes away all the problems.
yeah.
Great. And last but not least, what's one of the most important passion outside of your work?
That's a challenging one because I made my passion my life and work. That's why, yeah, I cannot believe I'm getting paid to do this. But I could say nature.
Hmm.
So philosophy, nature, those two would be, yeah,
Good one.
yeah.
Yeah, I like to, wander around in the nature time to time whenever I need some break. So great. It was a great conversation, Juan. Thank you so much
Thanks, Aaron.
for joining me.
You too, my friend.
Sharing your story, unpacking the last years of building this amazing um, coaching services you provide to your customers. If people want to check out Inner Acceleration, what they have to Google, what's the website would you like to share with them?
So super simple. Inneracceleration.com.
Hmm.
As simple as that. You can also find me by my name, Juan Campo, on LinkedIn. That's usually the social media that I use, and I'm active there. I post things there, articles, posts, quotes, and resources. So you might want to do that as well. The book, you can share the link, but it's basically get.book. No, is it getbook.at/mind canvas. I'm going to send you the link that takes you to the Amazon store closest to you.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's it.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're actually doing within our acceleration. I loved the way you described everything. And I think it will make me think quite a lot about my rituals now. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Founders
If I can
Podcast.
invite you to not just think about it, to act on it.
Yeah,
Yeah. My friend, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Founders Podcast. I hope you found our conversation with Juan insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to connect with him on LinkedIn by just searching his name, Juan Campu. If you are a founder or an industry expert interested in sharing your story on our podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out. Simply email me at ash@artcircles.com. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated to future interviews with proven founders and industry experts. We have a lineup of incredible guests and valuable insights coming your way. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.